Hey everybody, Adam Savage here, and I am in the UK at our friends FBFX. And when I worked in special effects, one of my favorite sub-disciplines of the art was mold making and casting. And I thought I was reasonably conversant in it, but here at FBFX, they have some homegrown techniques. And John, this is your domain, yes?
Yeah, kind of.
And you guys have been doing actual pressure and vacuum casting.
Yeah, so we have 3 big vac casters here, and we have several press pots as well, so we can do both.
Can you walk me through what vacuum casting is? I'm used to just like taking a piece of silicone, cutting it in half, pouring a bunch of resin in it, and we're good to go.
I mean, it's more or less the same thing. It's just we pour the resin and mix the resin all in a vacuum at the same. So it's all done in a vacuum, and then
the mixing and pouring process are all done in a vacuum.
Wow!
And this makes sure you have no bubbles.
Yep.
That the castings are complete and you have no voids.
Yes. Yeah, and then we end up with a perfect interior as well, so you get both sides.
Now, I remember one of the hardest parts about making a mold is thinking upside down and backwards through a shape to make sure you don't get voids. But does vacuum casting eliminate, to a large degree, that problem?
Yes and no, you still have to think about it. So you kind of have to think about how's the material going to flow through the piece twice, because you have to think about, oh, when I inject the material in, how's the material going to flow so you get a nice perfect cast.
Okay.
But then you think, right, when I pour the silicone in, how do I make sure I then don't get bubbles trapped underneath undercuts?
So are you vacuum casting both the silicone and the resin later?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we pour the silicone once it's been degassed, and then you degas it again once it's on the piece, and then you leave it. So generally our silicones are about 24 hours to cure. So that normally allows all the bubbles to float out, but if you say something like this, you might end up with bubbles in places, so you have to tilt it in a certain way or mold it in a certain way. And yeah, generally we suspend them like this. You can put them up on this, or you can suspend them so the other way around. Okay, so let's talk about this. This is a mold you have set up, and I'm assuming that you inject here through that center. Yeah, so that's our pour point, and then all these smaller ones are our bleed points.
Right, and that's where the air is allowed to escape.
Yeah.
Oh, I see this. This piece of tape here is your parting line.
Yeah. So when we got a mold together like this.
Yeah.
Sorry, this one's a bit old, so it's a bit harder to see, but generally it's, otherwise you'll end up with a horrible seam line.
Yeah, yeah.
This allows you can cut along your edge, and then you end up with a nicer edge. And can you just see along here that it's all nice and smooth?
No, this is the thing. So this is called a jeweler's cut here. And this is like a standard, you cut this right.
But just with a scalpel.
For me, whenever I do that, I try and get careful up near the object, but I'm never careful enough. I like the tape because it makes sure you have a really nice flat edge. Okay, so you've set this up, and then this is your silicone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is slightly harder than the normal silicone you'd be used to. So so the normal tin silicone is something 20 sure. This is a 40.
Yeah.
So this
twice
is
as dense, twice as rigid.
But then it needs to have that for the vacuum.
Oh, right, because if you used a lower shore hardness, the whole mold would expand and contract. So this is to limit that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that I'm really most impressed here is that I didn't realize that you guys made the lenses from the Sandman mask this way.
Yes.
So you get like near optical clarity out of this?
Yeah, so basically that becomes its own process, because you end up with, say you have this as your master, you have to then polish it to like a mirror finish, because the silicone will pick that up.
The silicone can pick up microscopic details.
Yeah.
They actually use silicone to cast cell walls in the medical industry. Like that's the precision of its fidelity.
Yeah, we've now started using it for textures as well, so we can pick up like carbon fiber texture or hexagon textures. But yeah, it's basically for this, it has to be mirror finish, and then gets put in the mold, pour the silicone on it, and then you end up with this nice shiny edge, and that's how you end up with something you can see through.
Now, is this one of the first times you've done this with an actual lens?
Not this particular one. We've done lots of lenses for different things, generally mass production. Halo was a big one we did.
So now this is the thing, is that like I know you guys have some specialty vendors for your space helmet visors and stuff, and they're expensive, and there's a lot of lead time and all of that. Being able to do stuff like this in-house is a real benefit for you guys.
Yeah. It generally depends on the job. If we've got the time and the numbers are right, we can do that. Sometimes we have to farm them out, but generally what I'll do is, I'll make the first one, or I'll color test, and then we can pick which colors and then we do need to send them out and go, right, this is your mix, this is what you need to make.
The optical clarity is incredible to me. That's the
it's not the easiest thing in the world. Sometimes you end up sitting there polishing for a long time.
So even after you've molded and cast it, there's still a polishing stage.
Yeah, generally.
Okay, so this is how it looks coming out of the mold.
Yeah, so that was the fresh cast I'd done.
Are you guys using like lapping compounds, like really like 1,000, 5,000 grit, that kind of stuff?
A little bit. Generally, once it comes out of the mold like this, generally we just give it a nice, quick polish, and then it should be okay.
It should be enough.
It should be enough.
I mean, the thing is that when it's just vacuum formed, you get all of this.
Yeah.
You get all of this detail that you don't want, and it ends up being a very cloudy image from the inside of the helmet.
These went through a couple of different variations because it was the curvature, trying to make sure you could see out of it without getting too distorted.
Right.
But so that it kept the shape of it. So I think this was the 3rd iteration.
Well, and I mean, this is the most compound of compound curves, and it has to fit within another cast part.
Yeah, so the actual outer edge of that as well is also in a vat cast mold.
Tell me what determines whether or not you're going to do the vat casting, because it's a little more of a laborious process than your standard silicon.
So generally it's done when we need to retain the interior, or if things need to fit into each other, because the shrinkage is lowered.
Big, thin castings,
yeah,
like a helmet, like a shell.
Visor. Most of this helmet is vat cast. All rubbers as well we do, but we tend to make the molds this way and then we pressure cast them.
See, in the old days, we used to just fill the mold with some resin and sit there and turn it around, right?
Yeah, we don't do that.
Okay, so we're going to get an actual practical demo of how you actually cast in this mold.
Yeah.
Before we head to the mold room, is there any preparation this mold needs before casting?
So we're going to tape it together. We've got a special tape that sticks to silicon, and then we'll put like a reservoir edge on the top so that any excess material will stay in that reservoir, and then it will make sure that if we do have any bubbles, it's filled with the excess material.
And that's where it comes through.
That's where it comes out.
Oh, and these are all where it comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll put a border around this.
Yeah.
And that will allow some hydraulic pressure to let everything fill up. Lovely. All right, let's head off to the mold.
Yeah, let's go.
I will be wearing a respirator for this operation, but right now, I love the smell in here. This whole thing is a vacuum chamber.
This whole thing is a vacuum chamber.
Humongous for a vacuum chamber.
This is actually one of our smaller ones.
Really?
Yeah, so we have 2 of these, and then we got a larger one behind you, which I can actually sit down in. I mean, you wouldn't close the door, but you can sit down in it.
Wow. That's a huge amount of steel.
Yeah, I mean, you can get bigger ones. I've heard of productions where you can get ones you can actually, a human being could lie down in.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is our vacuum chamber.
This is our vacuum chamber. So we basically have 2 buckets. So this will be our mixing and pouring bucket.
Yeah.
And then we've got another bucket at the back, which is our part A.
So that you can mix 2 parts together.
Yeah. So we've got a part B.
Amazing. Oh wow, this is a funnel. I see now.
And then that will lead into our mold, and we've got funnels that lead into the bore tube, and yeah, so you can see it all running.
So there must be occasions when you haven't planned properly, and you go through the A and the B, and you mix them together, and you stir them, and you pour them in, and then it just runs all over the place. Does that happen every now and then?
I've never done that.
Okay.
I have once done it where I left a bit of tape in the thing, so it just filled the funnel up and didn't. And then you go, and now I have to start again because that's half an hour.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I've only done that once.
So I am your assistant here.
Yeah.
Let's go through this process.
Right. Okay. So first things first. We've got a little bit of because we're running a lens.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, we're running one of the lenses.
I've got a little bit of mesh we put over there.
Ah, to make sure there's no impurities in the...
And then if we get a bit of tape, we can just tape that on. And that's essentially...
What kind of tape is that, I wonder?
The bog standard holds everything together.
Oh, and there's liners for your funnel. Nice. Oh, this is great.
So we just stick that over the hole.
Oh, okay.
It's just because I'm paranoid. Just don't want the whole thing coming off. It shouldn't do. But
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, mold making is all about exploiting your paranoia, right?
pretty much.
if you're not paranoid, you're not prepared.
No.
Because what can go wrong will go wrong.
I like that. I might have to use that. So there's like this lovely hook here. So it just literally sits like that. So yeah, we can start getting the material.
Okay.
Because the mold is currently in the oven. And the mold needs to be hot, but the material can be run cold.
Gotcha. So the temperature difference matters.
Yeah. So we try and keep the mold as hot as possible, and then we just run the material cold.
So bringing out the mold's the last thing we do.
That's literally the last thing we do.
Terrific. So
yeah.
do we grab this too?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go
And then
get
we
some material.
Go and mix up some material.
Excellent.
So 117 grams of this.
Copy that.
Yeah, that'll be all right. We'll live.
I messed up the first part.
And then in that one, you want to do 134.
Okay,
Oh, that one might be a bit.
there it is. I have a pair of those. I use them for the same thing.
Yeah.
134.
134.
Okay.
If you're a little under, it's not the worst thing in the world.
132.
That'll do. This is the color.
Yep. Aniline dyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So. One, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
4 drops. You pre-mix that.
So that'll be pre-mixed in the machine.
Oh, okay.
And then we go back over to the machine.
All right.
So that one goes to the back.
Yep. With a spout up front.
Yeah. One goes in there. And then we got our paddle.
Ah, look
And there's like a hook. Do you want to put it in?
Sure. And it's in.
Job done. Right. So it's that one at the top.
And so this is that special tape
Yeah.
that sticks to silicone.
Yeah.
All
That goes
right.
in there. Just on the bigger ones can self-raise. This one we have to use this jack. So.
Got it. And so I'm assuming I bring this all the way up.
No. You actually want to leave it to
Oh.
about there, so you can actually got like a little bit of, and then this.
Oh, I see.
Goes in there, and then you put it up there.
Oh. This is cool.
Like that.
No question that it's getting.
Yeah, and that.
And that also helps use the hydraulic pressure
Yeah.
right here to push it in. And then you've cleared all the holes here so you
So the material just bleeds through. And that's basically prepped and ready to go now.
Okay.
So to run the machine, that's our exit valve. So we close that, because we don't want the air escaping.
Copy that.
And then, green for pump, green for mix.
So, pull out.
Yep.
And this is drawing the vacuum.
And yeah, and now if you press that,
Oh, really? Mix right away.
it mixes it.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
So while it's pulling down to -1 bar,
yeah.
we're letting that go, and then once it reaches -1 bar, we go and start them together.
We can start the gas. What I tend to do is I leave it for like a minute or two just to make sure there's no bubbles in there, and then we can just mix it. And it's
Amazing.
fairly straightforward. We have
Yeah.
2 levers at the back. The
Yep.
one at the far back moves the rear cup,
That-
and that top
That tips A into B.
A into B. So we mix that, do that 30 seconds, mix the whole lot for 1 minute 30, and then we pour it into the mold. And that's with the second handle, that's the one at the front.
How does it tip when the mixer's in there? Oh, the whole thing moves.
The
I'm
whole
such a-
thing moves.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so our bigger one, the whole, like this whole assembly will go up and down depending on what we need to do.
Right.
And that can also tip a mix, so you don't do it with a handle, it's all, you just press a button and it does it all.
Amazing.
However, I thought you might get a kick out of the old school.
No, no, I'm told you, you're absolutely right. Clearly you know me. Well, we're pretty close to -1.
Yeah,
Does it stop pumping when it gets there? No, it keeps on pumping.
just keeps on pumping.
Yeah, fair
you can turn the pump off, but I just carry on, let it go. So if you want to start,
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
start the timer while pouring, yeah?
yeah,
And I'm holding it like this for a full 30.
yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1.
And then put it back up again.
There we go. That one's safe, and then we wait for another minute.
Yeah, and
before doing
it's
the
just
second
mixing
pour.
the material.
This is great. Handles for moving stuff inside. I really dig it. It is no small deal to pull a vacuum in a chamber this big. There's a tremendous amount of pressure in here. A vacuum is only negative 15 pounds per square inch of pressure, but when you calculate the square inches here, what is this? Let's say 20 by 30. 600 square inches times 15. Yeah, and then times that by 6 surfaces. The amount of outer pressure in here is gargantuan. The one rule about me doing math on camera is that I'm always wrong about it, but you get the picture. Here we go.
There we go. So I'm going to turn the mixer off, and you just start. Oh, just start
All right,
pouring.
here we go.
So what I do is I just leave the vacuum going until the material starts coming out,
Oh, there it is.
and then we can turn the pump off. And then I just let the air back in.
Wow. Oh, you let the air back in right now.
Yeah.
Oh, and that makes all the bubbles that might remain really small.
Yeah.
I guess I can let this back up.
Yeah, you can move that back up.
Dude.
And now the joy of this material is it will cure at room temperature, so we can leave it for an hour, and when we come back, we can get out some lenses.
Like a cooking show.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's going to take an hour for us, but just a few seconds for you.
All right, John, the mold has been not demolded, but we've pulled it out of the vacuum chamber.
Yep.
And that was really straightforward.
Yeah.
It was a very simple process. I mean, there are multiple steps, but it's nothing too complicated. So tell me how we get these out.
So basically we need to cut the tape off.
Right.
And then once we pulled all the tape off, we can take off this reservoir material. It's quite big, this one, but it's so I can get the color right. Because I have to make sure the color's right between every single pour.
Okay, so if the mold was smaller, you might have more variance in the color?
No, if the mold was smaller, I'd probably use less material.
And less material means it might not be
Might not
mixed
need
as
as
well.
much pigment, and then I can change the ratio depending on.
Ah, okay, I gotcha. So it's all about maintaining consistency.
Yeah, because there's a lot of testing I need to do. So sometimes I'll do like 3 or 4 different variations, and we go, right, that's the one we like. So I go, right, well, it's a good thing I wrote that down, and then remember it mostly.
Copy that. All right, so we start scalpeling it off?
Yeah,
All
just
right.
wherever you want to go.
And I don't want to cut into the silicone.
No, if you can avoid it.
Oh, I see. It's quite dimensional.
Yeah, I mean this, like I said before, this silicon's quite hard, so it shouldn't. It survived the last job. It will survive.
It'll survive me.
Yeah.
I can't believe you found a tape that sticks to silicone.
It took a while to find it, but when we found it,
That's amazing. Just that is like a bit of intel.
yeah, we the old school way of doing it, or the way we used to do it, was we used to staple the molds together, which would then reduce the life of the mold.
Right,
because you're
right.
constantly putting nicks and wounds into the mold where all your staples have been.
Okay, so then we pull off the bottom.
You can pull off the bottom. You can break this off, which is why I brought these.
Oh,
You can be kind of aggressive with it.
oh wow. Okay, that's cracking off the edges of where it came out. Free.
Yeah.
All right.
And now we can just break that open.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, I love opening molds. It's like Christmas. Oh, now, so, oh. Oh, we didn't break the little middle bit. I'm really glad for that. It's funny. There's such a compound curve, it looks like they're deformed.
Yeah.
And then for installation, you might clean up that edge.
Yeah. So on the actual model we got there, there's another piece again which we inject, and that will just sit over there, and it covers all.
And it covers all those crimes.
And then it just links in.
The ability to do reasonably optically clear in the shop must be like a real game changer for you guys.
Yeah, it does help. Like I said, if it's like a really big job, we might have to go outside.
Farm it out.
But generally, we tend to do them here.
I really see, I mean, you've eliminated the failure mode of most complex molds.
Yeah.
In which, you know, you spend half a day setting it up, and then the next morning you come in and discover you got to redo it.
Yeah.
That's great.
But it all depends on the material and what you need to do out of it. So we don't just do clear things. We do opaque pieces. It depends what we need to do. And then if we need to coat them in metal, we can do that as well, and paint them. It's just whatever needs doing.
So it all depends on whether on what the needs of the costume are.
Yeah.
Amazing. John, thank you so much, man. This has been a real
problem.
education. All right. Oh, I see clearly now.